Hello and welcome to our first edition of Impact presented by Pre-Scouter. I'm Kelly Gibbs and I'll be your host. If you have any questions or comments for our panel, please feel free to email or tweet us. That information's at the bottom of your screen and we'd certainly love to hear from you. Without any further ado, let's introduce our panel. First, we're joined by author of Global Innovation Management and Distinguished Professor Christopher Westland, Pre-Scouter Chief Scientist Ashish Basure, and PhD student Daniel Eichelsdorfer. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you. So we wanted to start by talking about market share. And really the challenge is companies want to be first in the market with their new products, but they also want a product out there that stands the test of time. 5-10 years down the road, they're still the best. So we'll start with you, Professor Westland, and how do companies successfully find a balance there?
Well, I think that the Google has sort of done it correctly. The fact is that you're not going to be able to maintain a sustained competitive advantage with one particular product. Rather, one needs to think in terms of a customer base and constantly coming up with product innovations and new products that satisfy that particular customer base. But the idea that you can actually produce one thing and maintain a market dominance with that one particular product for a period of 5, 10, 20 years, I don't think you can really do that in this day and age. There's simply too much competition. It's not just local, but it's global competition. There's too much information exchange, and the advance of technology is so great that it's simply difficult to define a particular product that isn't going to have to be completely different in 5 to 10 years to satisfy your customer base.
Okay. To your point, what is the threshold that you think companies should say, take it to market? When have they, completely evolved an idea enough where you feel like it would be appropriate to introduce it to, the commercial market?
There are a couple of things to think about. If this is the first thing that your company has introduced to the market, it, I think, has to have some level of success, or you're discounted as a company. On the other hand, I think there's something to be said for this Google philosophy of put a lot of products out there in beta. If you're going to fail, fail quickly. When you fail, learn everything you can from your failures and get back out there and ask your customers what they need and provide it for them. So I think we're in a much more dynamic situation than we have been in prior years. We can't simply expect to create the best product, put it out there, and then dominate the market for a long time. We're going to constantly have to be modifying it, and it's constantly going to have to be modified based on customer feedback. Okay,
great. And Daniel, I saw you nodding at that. Was that something that you agreed with as well, or?
Yeah, I think it's a bit tricky for the whole fail and fail quickly. It's a difficult balance for companies in the beginning. I think Google has a great model, but Google's also established by now.
Absolutely, and that's my point too.
Yeah.
Is you can't afford to really fail and fail over again if you're a new company.
Yeah, but I think once you have those few successes, that is a good model and sort of philosophy as to try things. If they fail, learn everything you can about them.
Yes.
And how it failed, and don't make the same mistake twice, right?
Right.
Which is easier said than done, I think.
Great. So now we'll move to research and development, spending. All the spending that goes on behind the scenes before anything's brought to market. So does size of a budget matter? And maybe Ashish, we can start with you there in terms of, I think some budgets may surprise certain people, where Apple's budget is a lot lower than Volkswagen's for R&D spending, which is shocking, I think, to some people that constantly draw Apple in line with a very innovative company. So what would you say in terms of size of budget?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it is industry dependent to some degree, because when we look at the pharmaceutical industry, they can spend upwards of $1 billion to take an idea through FDA approval and human clinical trial testing, and that drug may never come to market. In fact, 1 out of 23 drug that they take from $0 to $1 billion will actually make it to market. So there's a lot of money that's invested in that area. But if you look at different organizations like Apple, who have used mainly other suppliers for their innovations and for their tools, most of the components within an iPhone are actually Panasonic or Samsung components. So if you think about that and you kind of move, and that is kind of the way that your company operates in terms of moving innovation into the next, the next level, then that's. Yeah.
I'd have to agree with the industry-specific side, too.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
product is different, and so some products you can actually just go out and do searches, internet searches or business intelligence, and put your product together. And to some extent, that's what Apple is doing. They're building to a particular customer base and a particular design, but they're using publicly available information.
Yep.
Volkswagen maybe doesn't have quite that luxury.
Well, so yeah, that's an interesting thing because all the car companies right now are all in the same scramble, which is trying to get the self-driving car, right?
Right.
And so there's a huge budget, but they're all overlapping R&D divisions that are trying to make this initiative happen.
Which is wasted.
Which is totally
It is
wasted.
wasted,
That's
yeah.
right. And the pharma companies have learned from this mistake by actually working together with one another on collaborative initiatives to save the redundancy of effort.
And the pharma companies, really since the 1980s, have been very much market-driven. It was really Jan Leschly, the tennis player, who took over SmithKline back in the, I think, late 70s, early 80s, who redefined the pharmaceutical industry as being one that would meet particular consumer needs. And actually went out and had SmithKline do hire academics to do research studies to find new diseases that their existing product line would cure.